And the more the prisoners imagine that they are able to construct their individual and collective life in another way, the more they are accused to get bogged down in the servitude of the cave. This form of criticism was supposed to give people awareness and make them active participants in the struggle for emancipation. But as a matter of fact, I think that things worked the other way round. The critical tradition thrived on the power of the forms of organization and struggle and on the vividness of the revolutionary hopes it was supposed to foster. In the Western world, this ambiguous coexistence reached its peak in the 1960s with the development of the critique of consumer society and the denunciation of the society of the spectacle. The theory of the spectacle was elaborated by Guy Debord as in a way to present the spectacle as the reality of human activity separated from human beings and turned into a machine of deception and passivity. And I think this description is the most perfect case of what can be called Platonic Marxism. The individuals living in the society of the spectacle are said to be imprisoned in a perfect circle, but their importance is the importance of science as well. Knowing the law of the spectacle amounts to knowing its way of reproducing indefinitely its falsification, which is the same as its reality. Guy Debord once encapsulated the logic of this circle in one short sentence. I quote him, "In a world which is actually overturned, the true is a moment of the false." In other terms, the disclosure of the truth is just the affirmation of the necessity of its endless falsification. Nevertheless, this theory of an inescapable subjection could work as a description of the society that the social movements and the anti-imperialist movements at the time all over the world set out to destroy. So the reality of these actions could take over, paradoxically, the theory of its impossibility. It could lend it its energy and make it serve its cause. But the decline of those energies disconnected the procedures of critical thinking from that horizon of emancipation and produced the inversion of their logic. The frantic unveiling of all biases of the images was replaced at the beginning of the 80s by the description of a postmodern world where there is no more any distinction between image and reality. The criticism of the illusion of the images was overturned into the criticism of the illusion of reality, and the critique of false richness into the critique of false poverty. Above all, the denunciation of the capitalist machine became either the melancholic affirmation of its eternity or the angry denunciations of the crimes of the democratic mass individual. So the critical procedures, which were supposed to be means of arousing awareness and energies for a process of emancipation, became weapons against any dream of emancipation. And I think from this point of view, there is no shift from modern optimism to postmodern pessimism. The nihilism that has been blamed on postmodernity may have been from the very beginning the hidden secret of science itself. It was already inherent in the pedagogical attempt at opening the eyes of the poor blind people enticed by the lies of the images in the cave. The point is that the pedagogues are doctors who need to reproduce indefinitely the disabilities they purport to heal, as their science thrives on the importance of the disabled to get healed. It also thrives on its own importance to heal them. Its importance ensures its eternal necessity, and this eternal necessity of critical thinking ends up overlapping with the eternity of domination. I believe that it is time today to break away from this circle. I think that it is time to try to disentangle the logic of emancipation from some presuppositions that the critical tradition has uncritically borrowed from the logic of domination. I think it's time to discard the logic of disability, the vision of the social process as a mechanism hiding its secret or huge beast swallowing all desires and energies in its belly. There is no secret of the machine, no global process of absorption. Accordingly, there is no global necessity, no necessary historical evolution. We know how the vision of the harmonious self-regulation of the global market has recently been dramatically called into question, and along with it, the view of the making of a global petit bourgeoisie of merry and stupid consumers. The same goes, in my view, with the optimistic view that the dematerialization of capitalist production creates a new global class of collective intelligence, thereby preparing the self-implosion of the capitalist empire. There is, I think, no global process leading toward an happy or unhappy end of history. There are a multiplicity of situations, a multiplicity of forms of experience, a multiplicity of times, a multiple distribution of capacities. In other terms, there is a multiplicity of scenes of dissensus. Dissensus is the activity of individuals and collectives who reconstruct situations by breaking away from a certain ordering of time and space, by reframing the visible, rephrasing the sayable, and thus displacing thereby the border separating the possible from the impossible. Dissensus splits the unity of the given and constructs new and conflicting words in the one and same word of domination. And I think that the collective intelligence of emancipation is the collective capacity implemented in those multiple scenes of dissensus. It is the enactment of the capacity of anyone, or more accurately, the capacity created by the collectivization of the power inherent in the equality of anyone with everyone. And I believe that a fresh investigation of this power in the multiplicity of its forms may prove more fruitful today than the endless task of denouncing the tricks of the machine. And it will be your task now. Thank you. I've finished.